Hello everyone, Ladislas Morris from thewanderinginvestor.com, today in Panama City, and I'm with Matt. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yourself?
Good, good. So we will be checking out real estate that is at the $200,000 mark, which qualifies people for the Friendly Nations Visa, because that's a request that comes on a regular basis, correct?
It comes pretty regularly for people that are looking for an escape plan. Just to get residency in Panama, it's a very low threshold to get in.
Look, and it's easy to make a mistake when buying real estate in Panama. There are entire neighborhoods where essentially everything is empty, where it's actually really hard to find tenants. So essentially the 2 apartments that we selected will have a good occupancy rate.
We're very judgmental with where we were going to choose the properties. So we went with Casco Viejo, somewhere where you're going to get a lot of tourists are coming in, and we went with San Francisco. It's a middle-class neighborhood where you're going to get a large audience that are looking for a long-term rental option.
Cool. They have both very different value propositions. I'll have my own thoughts on them. So now we're going to walk to the first one, the more expensive one, the newer building near the Casco Viejo. You'll see it's quite a bad area right now.
It is. It's what Casco looked like about 15 or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So you have to have a little bit of a vision. It's the path of progress. You can see what Casco is today and what it used to look like in the past.
Look, personally, when I come to Panama City, I like to stay in that area close to the Casco Viejo because generally Airbnbs are more affordable, but there are new buildings that are very comfortable. But because the surroundings look quite bad for now, they come at a discount, but there's just a ton of police, so it's actually really safe. And you're just close to Casco Viejo, a 5-minute walk, and it's quiet. So I personally like that area to stay. From an investment point of view, let's just go have a unit and take it from there.
Let's do it.
All right, let's go. So I like to see the contrast here. You see these new buildings right here. Well, not new, but renovated. Mm-hmm. And then right next to it, this. And this is essentially the Casco Viejo.
That's it. And actually, this building just sold for about $1 million. It's going to be renovated in the next couple of years.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah, look, each time I come back to Panama, the Casco Viejo becomes better. The way I look at Casco Viejo is lower depreciation on your real estate as opposed to all the new towers in Panama City itself, whereby, they look great, but after 20 years, they don't look so great anymore. Here, your building is in like prime historical. It's a bit like buying in a historical center in Europe. It's always going to be worth something.
That's 100% true. I always tell my investors, Casco Viejo is going to be a higher cost per square meter, but it's also a safer play because Casco is defined by being in the historic district. There's a limited amount of inventory, so there's always going to be a value there.
Let's talk about liquidity. Look, North Americans and Europeans are used to high liquidity real estate. So if you put something up for sale, especially in the US and in Canada, within a few weeks you can sell it quite easily. In Europe, maybe a bit more, a month or 2, but here it can take longer.
It is. It does take longer. Most of that we actually see outside of the Casco Viejo area because there's a lot more inventory in that area, but ultimately it does come down to price. I've listed properties that have sold in 24 months, and then I've listed properties that have sold in 24 hours. So it really does come down to price and not pricing yourself out of the market.
Cool. So this is fairly representative of the Casco Viejo. You have these nice renovated historical buildings, and then these buildings with the locals that still live in there, and gradually they're being bought over. The locals are moving somewhere else a bit further away, and then these eventually will get renovated or rebuilt.
Yeah, and if you swing the camera around, you'll see an example of 2 buildings that have been renovated in the last 12 months.
Show us.
Yeah, so you have this building here was just recently renovated into a small market and rentals upstairs. And then over here on the corner, La Cuadra Market, the ground floor are all, it's like a food truck rally, like high-end restaurants all came together. And then above it are all Airbnb rentals.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I enjoy this area. I like this place. And you can see there's a lot of police presence. A lot of police presence. The whole area is just a little odd, but I've been coming to Panama City for quite a few years now. I'm used to it now. I understand the dynamic. It's nothing to be scared of. It's just, like you say, progress is coming.
Yeah.
It's a gradual thing, and safety is though you literally see people eating out of dumpsters here in front. You look at this here.
Yeah.
A lot of these places are squats, actually.
That's exactly right. But then also, if you look down here, the government's actively investing into the neighborhood as well. So they are doing public road work. That's actually going to be a new parking lot and then entrance directly from the Amador Causeway, where all the cruise terminal is located. So that's going to be another avenue for tourists to come into Casco Viejo.
Oh, the cruise terminal is down there.
The cruise terminal is down there on the set of islands, the Causeway Islands. It's a series of 3 islands that are connected by a land bridge.
Yeah.
And so what the government wanted to do was create another avenue to alleviate a bottleneck leaving those islands to come directly into the tourist zone of Casco Viejo.
Okay. So, in case you're wondering where the wandering investor stays in Airbnbs, so my Airbnb is down there. You can't quite see it, but it's a new building at the end of this road. But yeah, when I come back at night from the bar, this is where I walk. But it's actually not dangerous at all. All right, so we're getting closer.
We are getting closer. So Casco View is right over here over my left shoulder. You can see behind us, the government is actively investing into this neighborhood. The soccer field was within the last 2.5, 3 years. There's also a public swimming pool back on the back side. So you can actually see the vision. There is money coming into the area. They're revitalizing the neighborhood. One of the best features about Casco View, though, is it will always be the tallest building in the neighborhood. During construction, the zoning of this neighborhood was actually changed, so no one can build above 6 floors. That building's 12 stories high. They had to grandfather it in.
Cool, so that's the one we're gonna go check out.
That's correct, that's the one we're gonna go check out. So now we're in front of Casco View on 16th Street. Right behind me on the white building is La Manzana. That building was completed about 3 years ago, and it's being used currently for the International Film Festival, Panama Fashion Week, and many other events for the public here locally. They're actively driving more dollars into the community.
All right, cool. On which floor are we going?
We're gonna start on the first floor where the model is, and then we'll shoot up to the 12th floor where the rooftop pool is located.
So we are on the 10th floor.
Yeah, we're on the 10th floor. This is an example of a unit that's about 50 square meters, around that $220,000 price point. You have views out here towards the part that's going to be growing, and then out to the right, you do have a view of the water and downtown.
Okay, so yeah, I mean it's a story of contrasts here. You have the whole story here, the new building here with you were saying Fashion Week and all that.
Yep, La Manzana right down there is where you would do Fashion Week, International Film Festival. So you can see growth actively coming to the neighborhood.
Cool. We're gonna check out the rest of this apartment. Again, we're not here to view properties. We're gonna do all the numbers in terms of ROI. So we worked on the spreadsheet. So there's no lighting. I mean, they're still finishing the building, but this is 1 bedroom and this is the bathroom, whatever, nothing to say. So Matt, let's go onto the rooftop because it's a key selling point, especially if people want to do Airbnb. And then we shall sit down and do all of the ROI numbers in detail. And then we're going to have a look at the unit that is much bigger for essentially 200K afterwards.
All right,
let's go. Tell us about the Airbnb permits here because it's actually quite rare.
Yeah, so the developer went out of their way to actually pull out the Airbnb permit here locally. That allows them to do rentals under 45 days. In Panama City proper, there is a law against doing short-term rentals.
A poorly enforced law.
It is a poorly enforced law. This being Latin America, the president could wake up tomorrow and decide, hey, we're going to start enforcing this law.
Yeah.
And the fines are pretty hefty, starting at $5,000, going all the way up to about $50,000.
Like most people just do Airbnb and don't care, which is fine for now. But being able to invest in a place where you are guaranteed to be able to do Airbnb is definitely worth a premium. Because especially a lot of people want to be able to live in their place for part of the year, come to Panama for a month or two per year, rent it out the rest of the year. Essentially a unit like this allows you to do this and you're at the center of everything. So I mean the views are really nice here, gosh. And this is the whole Casco Viejo here, the old town. All right, and that's about 220, gets you this apartment and
access to the rooftop.
Access to the rooftop.
This rooftop social area is actually restricted just to the 2 top floors as well, 10 and 11.
Oh, really?
So there is a second social area down on the 6th floor. that is for the rest of the building.
So 10th floor that we were on and 11th floor have access to this, not the other floors.
That's correct.
All right, this is a really interesting selling point for this apartment. Cool. So now we're gonna sit down and do all the numbers. Cool, Matt. So let's go through the numbers. So the price of the unit, the closing costs, and then the furniture package.
Yeah, so this unit that we toured today is retailing around $220,000. If you were to add your furniture package, which includes the furniture, the appliances, the air conditioners, you're looking at about another $20,000. So now you're up to $240,000. Your closing cost will run you about $2,500 to $3,000. So let's call it all in $243,000.
Okay. Is there any scope for negotiations?
On pre-construction projects, typically there's not much scope for negotiations. The developer we're meeting with today is very tight with their negotiation.
Yeah. So the other unit that we'll see afterwards, the one that offers more value for money overall, that one is negotiable. This one, yeah, pre-construction. Cool. So we're going to be running two scenarios. We'll focus on the long-term market because when I make an investment, personally, I like to check the long-term rental income first in case I were to run into issues with Airbnb, etc. So long-term market, how much could I rent this out for on a monthly basis for a 12-month contract?
I would be conservative in my speculation here and say it's about $1,000 a month.
Cool. What would be the occupancy rate roughly?
You'd easily be occupied over 11 months out of the year on a long-term rate. Short-term, if we're going to go that way, angle, you're going to look at about conservatively 75 to 80% occupancy.
Cool. You do property management as well?
We do. We also do property management. That includes finding a tenant, vetting a tenant. There is the fee of 10% commission per month for the property manager. And there's also a commission with a real estate agent. That typically on a 12-month lease is going to be 1 month's rent. And of course, that's scalable. If they're in for a 6-month, then it's only half a month's rent.
Cool. And then when they renew, it's a lot less. So it's not a fee that you pay necessarily every year if people stay for 3 years.
Actually, in most cases, when they renew, if they're going to do another 12-month rental, we can either do a half a month commission, but typically for a long-term client that would be an investor who's owned it for a long time, we'll waive that full commission.
Okay, clear. What about the HOA?
The HOA fee is about $240 per month.
Okay, clear. Any other fees? I guess property tax?
There are some property taxes. It's going to be based off of the registered value of the property. Now, for your first 5 years in this property, you're actually going to have a tax abatement. After that, it's going to be registered off the public registry value, which is 0.5% after the first $120,000.
Okay. So it's really not much.
It's not much at all. You know, if you close it around $220,000, you're going to pay 0.5% on $100,000
In 5 years.
in 5 years. Correct.
Okay. All right. For the Friendly Nations Visa, you just need to keep the property for 3 years. So after 3 years, you can sell it, and then the new buyers still have the exemption for another 2 years. Correct.
That's correct. The exemption does convey with the property.
Okay. So good news. We'll still put the property tax in the numbers just to be a bit more conservative. So in Panama, when you get a long-term tenant, so as the landlord, you pay the HOA, the property tax, and then the tenants pay electricity, water, internet.
That's correct.
Else?
That's correct. Every other expense would be on the tenant side.
So because you do a lot of property management, how much would you allocate for incidentals per year, issues with leaks or needing to replace furniture or issues?
Sure, conservatively, I would put that about $1,000 per year. That seems quite high, but let's crush the numbers and under promise and over deliver.
Yeah, because the unit is new and there is going to be a developer warranty for quite a while. So 1,000 is conservative for sure. But yeah, let's put it in there. All right, so when we do all of the numbers, it takes us to a net rental yield before income tax of about 2.6%. So obviously, would I come here to make an investment, to buy this, to put this on the long-term market? Absolutely not. The play here, like we mentioned earlier, is going for short-term. So what do you think is attainable in terms of short-term for in terms of net rental yields?
Sure, as a short-term investment, I'd look at netting around 4%.
Cool. So 4% net, I think, is very doable. We're probably a little conservative. Look, the reality is the location is primed for tourists. when you walk around Panama City, you don't see that many tourists, but when you're in the Casco Viejo, this is where they all congregate. When you Google, oh, where should I stay in Panama City? Number one, Casco Viejo. And this is pretty much one of the only units in the Casco Viejo, or close to the Casco Viejo as we saw, not entirely the Casco Viejo, with a rooftop pool. And it's not like the whole building will have the rooftop pool, it's only 2 floors. So when you actually promote your place on Airbnb and you show a rooftop pool with full views of the Casco Viejo, full views of the bay on both sides, that will get you a very high occupancy rate. I don't doubt it at all. So I think this is an investment that is decent for people who want the Friendly Nations Visa and who have 2 objectives. One being that they want to have access to their property because they want to spend a bit of time in Panama. This is good because they can just block the calendar and stay at home when they're here. So this is great. It's not possible, legally speaking, in other places, though many people get away with it. So it's up to you to make your own decision. And 2, in terms of having a place that's unique and that is unlikely to drop in value. $4,000 a square meter is not cheap, but there isn't anything like this around, and there won't be anything like this around with these views and the pool right close to the Casco Viejo. In the Casco Viejo, new buildings are going for about $5,000 a square meter.
$5,000 on the low end. I've seen as high as $6,500.
So as this area becomes better, which is inevitable, we saw the road construction, we saw the new projects, etc. Like when you sell in 3 years' time, it's very unlikely that you'll have to sell cheaper than you bought, which is an issue that happens a lot to people who invest in Panama. They buy something and then when they try to sell it later, they're actually incurring a loss because it's a real estate market that's very tricky to understand. If you're looking at a pure investment for a few years and you just want to do long-term rentals and you don't want to do with Airbnb and you want to buy something that is objectively cheap with a beautiful sea view, that's the next unit that we're going to go see.
That's correct.
Cool. Can you tell us a little bit about the area we're going to now?
Yeah, so that's in the San Francisco neighborhood. It's very much a middle-class neighborhood, walkable, a lot of shops, close to the Multiplaza Mall. As far as the occupancy rates go, for long-term, it's very, very solid return on investment because you do have a lot of folks that are just getting into Panama.
Yeah.
This is a price point that's attractive.
Yeah. Look, I wrote a whole analysis on the real estate market here in Panama City, the neighborhoods that are interesting in terms of where to invest, where not to invest, because it's tricky. You have neighborhoods that look good when you come here, but actually at night they're completely empty and it's hard to find tenants. So there's a link below with the full analysis. But yeah, Matt, thank you. And
right.
Let's go to the other unit.
Let's do it.
All right, Matt, this is a different vibe here.
Definitely a different vibe. This is more of a family type neighborhood here in San Francisco.
All right, so just towers everywhere. A few amenities. There's a pool, there's a gym as well.
There's a small gym, there's a large swimming pool, party room for private events as well. Again, this is more about family style, people that have just moved to Panama. It's more of a middle class neighborhood to get your footing, or if you want to be here long term. All right, so now we're on the 30th floor of the Terra Mar building in San Francisco. This unit's 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, 120 square meters, which is about 1,300 square feet. And this unit does come with a 5 years left on their tax abatement.
And the key selling point, these views. Gosh, I mean, yeah, beautiful. And then you even see, I think this is really cool. You see all the boats here lining up at the entrance of the Panama Canal.
An important note about the location is you're only about 10 minutes from the international airport as well.
From Tocumen International, correct. Yeah, you are quite close, yeah.
You have the highway right downstairs.
Cool, so would you recommend the investors do a renovation here?
I would. You're gonna wanna put some money into that kitchen. Obviously you need new appliances and a couple fixing, updating in the bathrooms would help.
Cool, so we'll put that in the numbers. But look, I mean, the location is good. The building is all right, nothing spectacular, but these views and the overall value for money is absolutely, you'll have a hard time finding better. Actually, this is, look, so someone can negotiate this down to 200, you think?
Oh yeah, typically on the secondary market, there's about 10% off on the asking price. Getting that down to 200,000 would be pretty easy.
Okay, cool, fantastic. So let's do all of the numbers in detail.
All right.
Okay, so let's run with the assumption that we buy this unit for $200,000. What would be the closing costs and the budget approximately for furnishing and remodeling?
Sure, I would figure you need about $30,000 to remodel. Your closing costs are going to run you about another $3,000 on top of that. So altogether, you're in for $233,000.
What about the rental income for a 12-month contract?
In this building, you're averaging around $1,500 per month.
Okay, and so you do property management as well. How long do you think it would take you to find a tenant? If I were to buy it, let's say I follow your advice.
Sure.
I come here for the Friendly Nations Visa. I'm like, Matt, find me a good unit. I want some long-term rental, non-controversial. This is it, sea views. I buy this. I hand you over the keys. How long would it take you to find me a tenant at that price?
So this building is in very high demand because of the location. Worst case scenario, let's say 4 to 5 weeks, you're going to have vacancy.
Okay, so we can run with the assumption that the occupancy rate would be 11 out of 12 months.
Absolutely.
Okay, clear. What about the HOA?
The HOA fee here is $240 a month, and that does include all the gas in the building.
Including the gas?
It does. It includes gas. It includes access to all the common areas.
Gas for cooking?
That's correct.
Okay, cool.
It's a gas cooktop, and it's also a gas water heater.
Okay, cool. Okay, so that makes a difference for tenants, actually.
It does.
They have a lot less electricity costs.
That's correct.
Cool. So then as a landlord, I don't need to pay for electricity, nor do I need to pay for internet. What about your property management fees and everything?
Yeah, so that'll be about 10% on the monthly rental. And then, of course, you do have the commission for the real estate agent. A 12-month contract, it would be a 1-month commission.
And what about property tax?
Property tax, there is a 5-year tax abatement on this, so you're paying about $60 a month right now. Depending again on the registered value, that actually would drop at the end of the 5-year tax abatement.
Okay, why would it drop?
So the way that the law works here in Panama, during the tax abatement, you do pay a 1% tax on the actual value of the land. Once that tax abatement is up, your property is not, they're assessing your taxes on the mejoras, or the improvements on the land. So the property value is going to have a new registered value at $200,000 minus that first $120,000, so you're paying 0.5% on $80,000.
So for the numbers for the previous apartment, we just said that we might pay 0, but actually we would still be paying 1% on the land value for the first 5 years?
So the law changes on that. That's a new construction.
Okay.
The laws changed in around 2018, more or less.
Okay.
Anything that was constructed before 2012 had an automatic 20-year tax abatement.
Okay, clear. All right, so yeah, because it didn't quite add up between
Sure.
the period there. Okay,
Sure.
clear. What about the budget that you would recommend your investors keep on a yearly basis for incidentals?
The same here. I'd put it at about $1,000. The difference being, because they're both $1,000, this building is well established already, so you do not have the guarantee from the developer, but the concrete has already settled. You're not going to have any of those fissures, any surprises.
Okay, cool, fantastic. Is it easy to find deals like this in Panama City?
No, I would easily say this is probably one of the top deals that I've seen in my years as a real estate agent in Panama.
Okay, so by the time this video gets published, it'll probably have been sold already.
That's debatable. Our market does move a little bit slower than what we're used to in North America. So especially since the pandemic in North America, we know inventory is very low. Panama City, the inventory is actually very high compared, once you leave Casco Viejo.
Yeah.
So properties can typically stay on the market for 12 to 24 months.
And this is very important for people to understand. When you come here, if you don't invest in money that you could suddenly need because of the lack of liquidity. Real estate serves a different function in Panama than in other markets. Traditionally, real estate has served as a function of safety. So specifically for people from Latin America that were in countries with dodgy governments, etc., where things could happen, they would come here to Panama, buy real estate because it's safe. So they were not looking for rental returns, they were looking for safety. So that's one. And two, traditionally, there was a lot of money laundering here, so people would buy apartments off plan and then have fake rental contracts, and people would pay every month cash at the bank their rental income, and then they would pay their income tax on it, and then this way the money would be legalized. So essentially there's a lot of inventory, there's a lot of apartments where people don't actually live in Panama City, less in this neighborhood than in other neighborhoods, but people just need to be aware of this. When you come here and you want to do either the Friendly Nations Visa for $200K, or if you want to do the Qualified Investor Visa, if you want immediate permanent residency, you need to be very careful and to work with the right professionals, because so many people get burned. So these two examples that we gave you, would I come here specifically just for these investments? Personally, no. But when you combine it with the Friendly Nations Visa, with a residency here in Panama, that can turn into, if you move here, into potentially zero tax for you, if you structure things properly, if you're not American, then it starts to make a lot of sense. So I think that the key message is, when you come to Panama to invest in real estate, manage your expectations, know what you're getting yourself into, and be honest with yourself in terms of what your objectives truly are. And then based on these objectives, I mean, Matt, you've been here, like you said, 15 years in real estate most of that time. Matt will be able to find you a property that can match these requirements.
Absolutely.
Cool. Any parting words?
I think we've covered it well. Go into the realistic expectations. Don't come here with rose-colored glasses. Like you said, if it's money that you need to be liquid, you're going to have to do a flip. Panama's probably not the right investment for you.
Yeah. Like we were having this discussion a bit earlier, there are these online publications. They're always promoting Panama, how fantastic it is, blah, blah, blah. Look, Panama is very nice, but when it comes to real estate, you just need to be careful. If you're careful, you'll be fine. If you're not, you're going to get burned. So I wrote a whole article on the real estate market here in Panama City, the neighborhoods you should look into, the neighborhoods you should avoid. There is a link below, and if you want to get in touch with Matt, there is a link below as well. Matt, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Make sure to download my free ebook, 12 Mistakes to Avoid When Investing in International Real Estate, which you can find on my website, link below, and feel free to follow me on Instagram @TheWandering Investor. I look forward to hearing from you.